Hey everyone, Fez here. So you'll ask for it, and I thought I'll start doing these monthly. The dev update is done, and I'll quickly talk through what we achieved last month. Now, I have changed up the dev updates moving forward, given that we have the roadmap board and tried to intertwine it. So as I talk through what we've completed, then I'll run through the board and cover off where things are at to give a bit more detail around it. So with the dev update, you'll get a more glamoured version of this, but essentially in July we wrapped up the DAP Kit SDK wallet. Now, the DAP Kit SDK is the functions that go to the contracts that people would enable to for loans and swaps and things like that. So we've pre-built that functionality. So partners like right now Balanced can just go and integrate it without having to pre-build, spend weeks building that. So that's what's included in the DAppKit SDK. All chains are now built and supported and deployed and consumable via the npm packages. The Sodax wallet SDK, so that the two chains, again, both of these two chains are pending, Sonic and a couple others, actually, 3 chains. All the chains are now done and deployed, and partners are using it. We have also finished the production version of the solver. To be clear, the solver has been in production for a while, but what we have is we have 2 versions of the solver. One is the production solver, and the other, which is called a staging solver. Now, the staging is also in production, but that's the version that we push new features, new tokens, new anything we do goes to the staging solver, and then we test it more thoroughly in production before it transitions to production, which is an extremely stable version of the solver. So right now we have a production version of the solver, which supports all our chains and specific assets that we currently support in the legacy infrastructure. So that is in production, and part of that, we just did the network vote where we moved 10K of assets. So now the production solver at least can support, I think $5,000 worth of swaps to be safe, depending, as long as we hold representative of 10K assets on each side. But it's bigger swap volumes than what we were testing with, which was $10, $20, but now there's a decent amount of liquidity to do for us to make sure everything's working perfectly, and then we can do the next stage, which is more liquidity migration. Then the other piece that was done is the ICX to Soda. So everything's on mainnet. We built this into the SDK to enable partners like Hannah and Balance to set up, if they want in their own applications, a migration process. We'll have it separate on the Sodax website as well, but all the functions have been built and delivered in the SDK, so front ends can integrate that process. There's no date yet on that, but the grunt work is done now, front end implementations, and then when we are ready to go ahead with the actual migration. So that's what's been completed, and then in progress we have all these pieces of work. I may just switch to the roadmap and run through over here so that everyone's looking at the same thing. So in progress, we have the Sodax website now. It is live, sodax.com. Expect there to be more updates to this in a few weeks, but essentially our website is live. The money market app, this is also the tray, and things are being worked on. That isn't a point of focus of getting this out ASAP, but work has already commenced. That's why it's in progress, and the migration tool is being built into the application. So that will be the first thing to launch under the Sodax application, which will strictly be the migration piece, but it will get you the aesthetic feel of what Sodax, the application, will look like. Backend infrastructure is currently in progress. So at the moment, we've just finished off the data component for all the money markets. So we scrape all that data and make it presentable via API, so partners can request now, we want this data or that data, and we can easily put together an API with those unique data points, and they can then have it feed into their UI. And the good thing here is we're building it from scratch, so we control it. And so in future, as we have more requests from our close partners or other partners, or for ourselves, we'll be able to do things, which is good, which has been a restriction we've had in the past. Now, the Soda TGE, so this is actually done in terms of, we have done a network vote, you saw it pass, we have done a test round for the Soda token, and we have actually generated the token and passed it as per the network vote into the locked wallet to get ready for the actual migration and things like that. Again, a little bit of this is tied into exchanges, which there's process. We've gone through it all, just waiting to hear back from a few exchanges before we can announce more information around that. And this is not exchange's fault or anything like that. It's more, there's processes around this. We have to abide for them to ensure that everyone cooperates, and that's all we're doing. So I do get the frustration. Oh, when are we doing? When are we? Yep, work's done. Just a bit of a holding game at the moment. But as you can see, the migration SDK that I just mentioned, things like that are happening. So that once we have this piece signed off, it should be pretty much, okay, here we go. We're going ahead from this date. And the next piece was the hub limiter, hub rate limiter contract. So this was meant to be done, unfortunately saw a bit of a delay. Now, this is not holding up anything. It's just an additional layer of security. We saw a delay because we've been making revisions and just improvements to it. So at this point, I would say that we're looking at a mainnet release maybe end of August at the moment for this. So just, I'm being very safe here. It'd probably be a little sooner, but that's where I'll target it. The next piece was integrate router. Next piece, another thing that's been worked on from the solver perspective, is the router contracts. Now, what this was, remember, is it aggregates the solver sometimes does quite a few transactions on each chain. Essentially, the router contracts basically makes it so that it squashes those into one transaction, which then speeds up times on spoke and hub chains. So if something's happening across 5 transactions through the router, it will happen in one transaction just as fast, and help times. So this is where you'll see later swap times would get far quicker. At the moment, focus has been on quotes in terms of optimization and price, not on speed. And these router contracts fix that. The contracts have been built. This component is to do with the integration into the solver, which is in progress at the moment. And again, probably for the hub chain, we're looking at mid-August. Before then, other spoke chains get integrated as well. Solver optimization. Now, this is an ongoing piece. I don't have anything new to add here, apart from we have got a solution. It is mid-build, and towards the end of it, then we'll test it out. And this is really a scaling thing. It's not something I'm worried about at the moment. It's not impacting any launch activities or anything like that. It's more as we start to expand to more token parts. So if we want to offer like pretty much every token on every chain that we integrated the AMMs to via the solver, we need to ensure that these pieces are done so that there's no delays in the quote timing when you pick the assets and how quickly it can execute and things like that. So it is a future problem, but that will happen quite fast that we're addressing. Migration of NOL. Look, I've deleted this and added a couple of smaller checklists. So to give you an idea, we have gotten the approval vote. We have now, after we've deployed and the solver's been the production solver, we have requested and taken 10K worth of each asset. Now, keep in mind, like, sometimes the reason why I mentioned 2.5 to 5K swaps, because certain assets we've taken USDC and split it across the USD supported chains. So it's not necessarily 10K on every chain, it's probably 5K, 2K, 3K, etc. So now this stuff will even out as more liquidity migrates. But at this point, we moved a bit more liquidity because that also helps the solver when we're doing testing on quotes and stuff. Before we had 200, now we have at least 2 to 5 to 10K like a BTC and ETH, etc. So we're able to do decent quotes, set up quotes, and get good prices because we actually have liquidity on the money market. So that's done. Now, very soon, and by very soon I mean at the moment, external audits are happening, EVM's done, all the other stacks are getting audited at the moment, expecting mid-August. Worst case scenario, let's say end of August. As soon as those audits are done, fixes, if everything implemented by the end of August, we'll then do that second vote to go, okay, or we're ready for that second vote because partners are pretty much done with the integrations for the cross-chain swaps component as well. And by that, I mean HANA and Balance. So audits, just giving 2 thumbs up, that's safe. And then we'll move 25% of that liquidity, which then will give us decent swap sizes that we can accommodate. So that's probably the next phase. And then it's just a matter of migrating more and more. Now, we may change this. It may not be 75. It may go up to 50. Whatever it is, once we have 25% and partners are integrated, we should be able to do a switch over and everyone will be on the new infra and start to see improved quotes. I will say this, quotes, swap times, again, that is when that router implementation comes in, you'll see a huge improvement in swap times. But I mean, we're talking here 30 to 40 seconds, 45 seconds difference at the moment, and the router contracts may then trim it down to 25, 30 seconds. So yeah, just giving context, it may actually work out to be better, but for the moment. Okay, then Balance to Soda. So there is 2 other pieces of migration. We're talking ICX to Soda, then the Balance to Soda migration piece, and the old BNUSD to new BNUSD. So there will need to be a migration of BNUSD. Fortunately, it's just a click of a button. You go into the UI and old BNUSD, get new BNUSD, and off you go. So these 2 components are also in progress. This is actually, hey, let's just do this. This is actually completed in the SDK and just got word yesterday or this morning it was done. And this is still a work in progress, but I think by the end of the week, this should also be done and supported in the SDK. So then Balance can start integrating it into their front end. And when we're good to migrate, it'll just be enabled and users will be able to start migrating. The other part, Hyper EVM, I have no updates here apart from everything is done and we're on mainnet, except we haven't commenced the SDK component or the solver integration. Now, those we've been prioritizing the existing chains, which have just wrapped up. Now, that team is focused on improvements around the SDK, just general performance, partner feedback. So that's where most of the time is being spent. And I think middle of this month, we'll be able to start looking at some of the new chains that we need to get the SDKs updated for and then publish so partners can start integrating this. And the solver is in the same boat as well. So the SDKs and the solver can integrate the AMM off that chain. Now, with EVMs, it should be fairly straightforward for the solver and a quick process. If something like Near and Stacks, which are unique, it would probably take a bit longer because there's exploration work, etc., that needs to happen to build the specific modules for that chain. But again, the solver and the SDKs are slightly behind on that side of things and focused on the current chain setup and production stability and things like that. So hence they hadn't started on this. So with Near, though, we have finished the majority of the contracts. This is currently the limiter contract is almost finished. I believe by the end of this week it'll be done. And then, yeah, it's over to getting the SDK sorted and the solver. And Stacks is pretty much the same. The rate limiter contract is currently on hold, and the work's finished up on all the other contracts. And again, it's just once we can start working on the solver, which will feed into some of the rate limiter functions, I'm being told. Then the other part we're working on at the moment is we've started work on Bitcoin native integration. And with this, I put in the dev update. It'll be done in two parts. Initially, native Bitcoin integration using one of our partners, Lydia Labs, RadFi implementation, which there in the background use some of our relay tech that we built. So we're using that infrastructure essentially to enable holding off Bitcoin, minting of BNUSD, cross-chain swap, so you'd be able to natively swap into BTC. And then that will be phase one. And then the second phase will be integrating this bit of alpha here, but integrating their protocol, which is largely focused around runes, ordinals, and stuff like that. So we will, when done, all two phases are done. Although I don't have dates here because I can't date it yet. I will have it by the next month, a bit of a timeline around this. But phase one will be quicker than phase two. And then when phase two is done, essentially through our SDKs, anyone would be able to offer runes and ordinals functionality for swaps, which has been a beast, difficult, and something that Lydia Labs via RadFi have unlocked. So there's that. Botanics, this is also same spot. It's EVM for another BTC Layer 2 EVM. Done. Everything's done. I would move this a little higher. Like this will tackle with Hyper EVM, and because it's EVM, we should see these move quicker than the near Stacks and Bitcoin implementation, given that they should be copy and paste from a solver perspective as well. And then finally, the other thing that's in progress, is the audits. External audits, so internal audits on everything, wave and wave and wave of internal audits. But we have gotten the EVM, all the contracts across EVM done, which is Solidity, and that's done, and fixes and everything done. And at the moment, all the other stacks, which I've kind of listed out here, and yes, they're Rust, but they're different variants, so it's a little bit different. So we need to get unique audits for those. And these are all in progress at the moment and expected mid-August. But again, I'm just playing it safe and say by the end of August. And that's when kind of we'll get that next phase. Once these are done, migrate the liquidity, move over to the new infra, and then start pushing everything across, all the remaining liquidity across. And yeah, that is pretty much the roadmap. I don't believe Ethereum work has not started. It's planned. Staking, actually, this work is actually done. However, I've just put it back to plan because just revisiting a couple of things, and I'll have more of an update at the end of this month around that. Okay, I think I'll end it there. Again, I know I've kind of spoken very fast. Just trying to get through it. I am aware that some of the stuff may be repetitive, so just in case. Sorry if I've gone too fast. Don't mean to. But yeah, in a nutshell, I think we're pretty much ready for day one launch. The key pieces with the SDK and stuff are done, which enables us to aggressively push to onboard new partners, get new partners. And because we have a bit of liquidity now, we can show examples of how much better, or the difference in quotes we provide versus their protocols. So that's good to see. And everyone will actually get to see that soon as Hannah and Balanced have the updated infrastructure through their front end. So yeah, hang tight. We're almost there. And yeah, if there's anything, please ask questions. But until next time, next month, I'll come back with an update. Unless you don't like these, then I'll stop. But so far, everyone said, yep, keep doing it. So I will. Take care all. Bye.